Shabbat Shalom, little Hebrews, and Boker Tov. Now let's talk about the history of Labor Day. Now you know that America just celebrated Labor Day this past Monday. Why did they do that? Did Yah say this is something we can celebrate? What does labor mean anyway? Little Hebrews, labor means to work. It means a person has a job. So let's start this off right. And let's go right into the scriptures and see what Yah says about labor or working. In Genesis 1:1, we read, "In the beginning, Yah created the heavens and the earth. And the earth came to be formless and empty, and darkness was on the face of the deep. And the Ruach of Yah was moving on the face of the waters. And Yah said, let light come to be, and light came to be." Little Hebrews, Yah was working. He was working by speaking into existence the world, light, the beasts of the earth, the trees, the grass, the flowers, the birds of the air, man, and a garden for man to live in. And after Yah created everything, Genesis 2:1-3 tells us, "Thus the heavens and the earth were completed, and all their array." Now, array, little Hebrews, means how things are arranged or how things are set up. Verse 2, "And in the seventh day Yah completed or finished his work which he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And Yah blessed the seventh day and set it apart, because on it he rested from all his work which Yah in creating had made." Now we're starting to see what Yah did. When he worked, he did so for the 6 days of creation. And when he rested, little Hebrews, that was done on the seventh day. Now let's look over at Exodus 20, verses 8-11. "Remember the Shabbat day to set it apart. 6 days you labor, and shall do all your work. But the seventh day is a Shabbat of Yah, your power. You do not do any work, you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your cattle, nor your stranger who is within your gates. For in 6 days Yah made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and rested the seventh day. Therefore Yah blessed the Shabbat day and set it apart." Now we see that the set order that Yah has placed everything into, and we must do the order that Yah has set up, little Hebrews. Yah did not say for us to find one day each year and set that day aside to rest. Yah said that we are to rest the seventh day, and he blessed the seventh day, and he set it apart. So, little Hebrews, where does Labor Day come from, and why? Well, there was an American man whose name was Peter McGuire. He is the one that made up Labor Day. And it was done to set aside a day to honor the nation's workers. We'll talk more about Peter McGuire in a moment. Little Hebrews, many Americans celebrate Labor Day to mark the end of summer. You remember that they have a day that is called the summer solstice, which is where they celebrate the beginning of summer. So, the end of summer is marked and celebrated by the day called Labor Day. They use this day as a day to take off from work and school, and for one last chance to relax at the end of the summer by going to the park, barbecuing, and hanging out with family and friends. This is not a day of rest, little Hebrews. This is a day that Americans celebrate. It is not a day Yah told us to celebrate. To many Americans, Labor Day represents a very important victory for laborers or workers all over the United States. This holiday is a celebration of the social, which means a group of people, and economic, which means the financial or the money part, and their achievements, okay, which means how they measure success. And this is all for American workers. So, Labor Day is really celebrating the success that American workers have gained through making money. Now, I ask you, little Hebrews, where is Yah and Yehoshua in all of this? Let's look back in the scriptures and see what Yah says about success. Psalms 37, 3 through 4 says, "Trust in Yah and do good. Dwell in the earth and feed on steadfastness, and delight yourself in Yah, and let him give you the desires of your heart." So, little Hebrews, Yah tells us to trust in him and do good, to live in the earth and eat steadfastness, which means be loyal, be faithful, trust Yah. We are to be happy in Yah, little Hebrews. Don't worry about things, because Yah will give us the desires of our heart, because he knows exactly what we need. Let's flip over to Deuteronomy 8:18. Deuteronomy 8:18. Now, this scripture tells us, "But you shall remember Yah, your power, for it is he who gives you power to get wealth, in order to establish his covenant, which he swore to your fathers, as it is today." Fathers and mothers, I would encourage you to read all of Deuteronomy 8, the whole chapter, to your little Hebrews. The entire chapter tells us that we are to guard Yah's commandments. It tells us how Yah will bless us and how we are to bless him. He will give us so much. He will give us good land, streams of water, wheat and barley, vines and figs, pomegranates, olive oil and honey, if we will just guard and follow his commandments, little Hebrews. Yah did not say, celebrate the wealth you gain by choosing one day at the end of summer and praise yourselves for what you've gained. He never said that. Yah has never changed his commandments, little Hebrews. We are to rest on the seventh day and set it apart to him. So, the Americans began fighting for change, little Hebrews. For more than 100 years ago, workers were forced to deal with harsh work conditions. I mean, very unsafe places, and they were overheated, not enough ventilation or air conditioning. These are the kind of places they worked in here in America, and they were paid very little money, and often they had to work long hours, 10 to 12 hours a day. This included the men, the women, and even the small children, who were forced to work even when they were sick. So they began to fight. They fought for shorter work days. They fought for higher pay. They fought for the rights that the children did not have to work. And they fought for less dangerous working conditions. The Americans formed what they called labor unions, little Hebrews. Now, labor unions are made up of people who take the concerns and issues that other people have. So in this case, they're taking the concerns and issues that the workers had because of their working conditions, and they took this to the state and to the governmental levels to try to get higher pay, better benefits, and better working conditions for the people. Well, let's speak about slavery. Keep in mind, little Hebrews, this does not include our ancestors, as the Emancipation Proclamation was issued only 9 years before Peter McGuire started his movement to get better working conditions for people. The Reconstruction era of 1865 through 1877 was in full progress. This was a hard time for Americans, little Hebrews. They were used to having the Hebrew slaves in the fields, toiling for them from sunup to sundown. No pay was ever necessary for the Hebrew slave. But now that the Americans found themselves after the Civil War and into the Reconstruction era, they found themselves, men, women, and children, working the long hours for little pay and under terrible conditions and in places that were not safe. They were crying out, and they were needing someone to make it better for them. And so, Peter McGuire. There was a New York City carpenter named Peter McGuire, who is said to be the one that came up with the idea of Labor Day. Way back in 1872, after working many long hours in places that were not safe, McGuire gathered 100,000 workers to go on strike. Now, to go on strike, little Hebrews, means that they stopped working. They protested. They held up picket signs. They wanted a change. The workers marched through the streets of New York City demanding better working conditions. Peter McGuire spent a decade, now a decade is 10 years, little Hebrews. So Peter spent a decade fighting for the rights of the workers. And in 1882, he put forth the idea to create a special holiday for workers. And on Tuesday, September the 5th, 1882, more than 10,000 workers gathered in the streets of New York City for the first ever Labor Day parade. 2 years later, which would be 1884, the celebration was moved to the first Monday in September. And in 1894, Congress passed a law making Labor Day a national holiday. So the American people called Peter McGuire the father of Labor Day because he came up with the idea for the holiday in 1882. Americans celebrated the first Labor Day holiday with a parade, little Hebrews, picnics, and fireworks. Today, many people travel to enjoy the last of their summer vacation. Others enjoy the long weekend with picnics, barbecue, or they just rest and have some relaxation in some exotic place. But remember this, little Hebrews. This is what Babylon created. This is not the commandments that Yah gave to us. Remember, little Hebrews, that this holiday called Labor Day is a time to honor the workers of America. This is not honoring Yah. Yah bless you, little Hebrews, and Shabbat Shalom.